problem with living on the bottom level of Coruscant," my tour guide said, "is that when it rains up top, something definitely falls down here. And it's never water." That dark humor reveals how this planet, once the shining capital where Republic senators debated beneath the glow of 3 suns, became a vertical society where altitude equals affluence. How did a world meant to showcase democracy's promise hide such darkness beneath its surface? Today we're exploring Coruscant's levels, from the Senate Plaza, where galactic history was written, to the shadowy undercity where ordinary people just tried to survive it. Have you ever wondered what lies beneath the gleaming towers of Coruscant? The answer is 200,000 years of buried history. While we've seen the planet as the bustling capital of the galaxy in films, its origins tell a far more primal tale of conflict and transformation that shaped the fate of humanity across the stars. Long before it earned its famous name, this world was known as Neutron, a place of vast oceans and towering mountains that would be unrecognizable to modern galactic citizens. 2 civilizations fought fiercely for control of this primordial world: the gray-skinned Tongs and the 13 nations of Del, the ancient human ancestors. Their struggle wasn't just for territory. It was a battle that would determine which species would inherit the planet's future.
Hold your fire! You're not helping here!
I agree. Bad idea.
Nature itself intervened in this ancient conflict when a massive volcanic eruption devastated Great Gel, the primary human settlement. The skies darkened with ash, and chaos reigned as the human civilization teetered on the edge of collapse. This catastrophe could have changed everything, potentially giving the Taungs the upper hand. But in one of history's great reversals, the humans of the 13 nations regrouped, fought back with renewed determination, and ultimately drove the Taungs off Neutron entirely. With their rivals banished to the stars, the victorious humans began reshaping their world through unprecedented construction and industrialization, building the first skyscrapers that would eventually evolve into today's endless cityscape. Archaeological evidence in northern Galactic City shows these early structures formed the foundation of what became the historical center of the planet-spanning metropolis. Around 100,000 BBY, the Gree, an ancient species of advanced builders, shared their architectural knowledge with Neutron's humans, teaching vertical building techniques that forever altered the planet's development. As towers reached skyward, the planet began to shimmer when viewed from orbit, glinting like a Coruscant gem against space, giving the world its new name, Coruscant. The planet's evolution changed dramatically in 30,000 BBY when the Rakata invaded. These conquerors enslaved the human population, taking many Coruscanti off-world. While brutal, this conquest inadvertently spread humanity throughout the stars, seeding countless worlds with human settlers who would form their own civilizations. Despite Rakatan rule, Coruscant's inhabitants showed remarkable resilience. They studied and reverse-engineered Rakatan technology, developing advanced capabilities that would later enable their own interstellar civilization. When the Infinite Empire collapsed around 25,200 BBY, Coruscant reclaimed independence and accelerated technological development, launching sleeper ships to establish colonies across the galaxy. Later, with hyperspace technology, these settlements reconnected with their homeworld, creating the foundations of a galactic network of human-inhabited worlds. The defining moment in the planet's political evolution came in 25,053 before the Battle of Yavin with the Galactic Constitution, establishing Coruscant as the capital of the new Galactic Republic. The Senate building's foundations were laid directly atop the oldest human settlements, connecting the government to its deepest historical roots. That symbolic Senate building would stand for millennia as the heart of galactic democracy. But what happens when the galaxy's most important planet becomes the center of its greatest conflict? The middle levels of Coruscant didn't just witness history. They suffered through the galaxy's darkest transformation as the Republic they trusted crumbled before their eyes. Between levels 3000 and 4000, you'd find the jewels of Republic civilization, the majestic Senate District, and the serene Jedi Temple. These weren't just architectural marvels. They were the control centers where decisions affecting trillions of beings across thousands of worlds were made every day. Senators would debate legislation while Jedi Masters contemplated the will of the Force, all within the same section of the planet-wide cityscape. Everything changed when the Clone Wars erupted. The middle levels that once buzzed with diplomatic missions and cultural exchanges suddenly found themselves transformed into military staging grounds. If you lived in an apartment overlooking the Senate Plaza during this period, your morning commute would include dodging squads of clone troopers marching between governmental buildings. Military checkpoints appeared at major transit hubs, and the constant hum of LAAT gunships overhead became the soundtrack to daily life. Then came the most shocking event in living memory, the Battle of Coruscant in 19 BBY. For the first time in 1,000 years, war directly reached the capital. Separatist forces under General Grievous launched a bold assault, culminating in the kidnapping of Chancellor Palpatine from his executive office. Residents watched in horror as droid starfighters engaged Republic vessels directly above their homes, with debris raining down on the once peaceful cityscape. In the aftermath, citizens of the middle levels witnessed something far more insidious than open warfare: the slow death of democracy itself. From their apartments and offices, they saw Palpatine's emergency powers gradually expand, government critics mysteriously disappear, and clone troopers increasingly act as enforcers rather than protectors. The transformation became complete when the Jedi Temple, once a beacon of hope where 10,000 Jedi served as guardians of peace and justice, erupted in flames during Order 66. The spires that had illuminated the skyline now cast longer, darker shadows across the middle levels, like dying stars whose light was fading from the galaxy. Within days, the smoldering structure was being converted into the Imperial Palace. Though the Senate continued to operate after the Republic's fall, it became nothing more than a powerless figurehead assembly. By 0 BBY, even this facade was discarded when the Senate was formally dissolved. Across the mid-levels, Imperial architecture began replacing Republic designs. Sharper angles, darker materials, and intimidating scale became the new aesthetic language of Coruscant. Those non-humans forced downward didn't simply disappear. They became part of Coruscant's greatest open secret. Beneath the gleaming spires and elegant boulevards lies a shadow world that never sees daylight, where crime lords hold more authority than senators, and where the true cost of the Empire's prosperity becomes painfully clear. Step off the turbolift at level 1313 and you'll immediately notice the difference. The perpetual darkness isn't just a lack of sunlight, it's a metaphor for how the Republic and later the Empire viewed these depths. In these shadowy corridors, history unfolds differently than in the textbooks approved for upper-level academies. While the Jedi Council meditated in their tower and senators debated policy in their rotunda, the underlevels operated according to entirely different rules. The Black Sun and Pike Syndicate ran entire sectors like personal fiefdoms, distributing their own justice and controlling their own economies. During the Republic era, this separation was maintained through calculated neglect. Upper-level bureaucrats preferred to pretend the lower levels didn't exist rather than acknowledge the uncomfortable truth. The Republic's prosperity was built on a foundation of inequality. Law enforcement rarely ventured below level 1000 unless absolutely necessary. When the Clone Wars raged above, the effects rippled downward. The undercity suffered economic collapse as supply chains fractured and resources were diverted to the war effort. Poverty deepened, crime escalated, and desperation became the dominant currency. The arrival of the Empire brought a sinister change of policy. No longer content to ignore the underlevels, the Empire viewed them as potential hotbeds of rebellion. Stormtrooper raids became common, targeting non-human communities and anyone suspected of harboring anti-imperial sentiments. Level 13. 13 earned its reputation during this era as the place where people disappeared. A distinct culture emerged in these tunnels and alleyways, resilient, secretive, and fiercely independent. The inhabitants developed their own slang, fashion, music, and cuisine born from necessity and limited resources. The mysteries deepen the further down you travel. By level 128, the environment becomes truly alien. Here, creatures evolved in isolation, adapting to eternal darkness and the unique ecology of the deep city. Urban legends speak of monstrous beings lurking in abandoned corridors. What's perhaps most telling about Coruscant is that most upper-level residents will live their entire lives without ever setting foot below level 1000. The physical stratification of the planet mirrors the social stratification of the galaxy. Those with power remain comfortably at the top, while the consequences of their decisions cascade downward, gaining momentum and impact as they fall. As we wrap up our journey through Coruscant's vertical history, the true scale of this world becomes clear. With a population in the trillions spread across all levels, this isn't just a planet. It's the ultimate urban experiment. At roughly 12,240 kilometers in diameter, comparable to Earth, Coruscant represents power stratification in its most literal form. When you watch upcoming Star Wars content like The Acolyte, pay attention to how Coruscant is portrayed. This isn't just world building, it's a reflection of the galaxy's socio-economic reality. From the peaks where senators debate, to the mid-levels where everyday citizens work, down to the shadowy depths where forgotten communities struggle, each level tells a different story about the same events. Coruscant isn't just the setting for grand political machinations, it's trillions of individual lives, each one experiencing the ripple effects of decisions made far above. That's the true marvel of this world. Not just its gleaming towers, but the way it encapsulates an entire galaxy's social order in a single, impossibly dense sphere. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and push the notification button.